It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we venture into a Thursday, let's venture together. Gary, how are you?
I'm doing good.
All right.
And I'm laughing because when you had the one congressman come out the other day and said what he heard through his sources is that there was an Iranian mothership.
Yeah.
And that's where the drones were coming from. Now, I never got clarification. Was it an actual ship or was it like in? Oh, you're raising your hands like the same thing. I'm like, no. Are they talking about, is it a ship or is it like a mega drone like Independence Day where they had the mothership up there?
Well, there was a separate story. So the New York Post, I love the New York Post because, man, they get on something that's a hot story, and they have, like, every take on it. I mean, I honestly think they do really great work most of the time there at the New York Post. And so there were a couple of different versions of that. And, as they always do, different angles, basically updated stuff and all that. One of them was about, and this congressman you're talking about, basically saying, the mothership, it just sounds so weird, right? It's like, okay, somebody call Will Smith. He'll know what's going on. But there was a conversation too about Iran dealing with China, and now using basically with China's help, venturing into the technology, the drone technology. And so in that version, in that article, basically they were saying a drone mothership. But I saw other articles that made it sound like, they got a boat on the water off the American, coast. And it's like, I don't think that's it. By the way, one of the things that you and I touched on last night, I think I said off the air, I said, look, if this is a military thing, you would think that the House Intel Committee, Senate Intel Committee, people on somebody on Capitol Hill would have been, getting a call. And then you would think, okay, if that's not the case, because there are special programs where nobody's told. It's not even a need-to-know basis because nobody needs to know. It's like a handful of people. And that's when they're dealing with new technology. Well, then it allows the military to say, yeah, we don't know what's going on. That's not us. Because
that's why I brought up Operation Blue Book.
Yeah.
They knew. I mean, the government knew. Those were tests of so many of those sightings were tests of, the early stealth and everything else, even back in the 60s.
And but there are programs out there where it's just a relatively handful of people that actually know what's going on, and there's no way they can talk about it because and then here's the conundrum under a Joe Biden presidency, because being an Air Force brat, I mean, my dad has told me he was in military intel, also was a security police officer, but he kind of alluded over the years to certain things. And, there's a lot of stuff that, people don't know and everything else, just what you would normally hear and what you would normally think during typical military operations for national defense. There's these top secrets. Well, if they don't know, if no one in the military, if it's not our military, then why haven't they done anything about it? There's no way with our capabilities that if it's not us, that they don't know who it is, that they're not on top of this. With all the intel capabilities that we have, there's no way that they don't know who it is if it's not us. Until you factor in a Joe Biden presidency.
Well, the first thing I thought of when they said Iranian mothership, the first thing in my mind was if Mothership, I'm sorry, I just can't.
I know, it
get
just
that in my
sounds
mouth.
weird.
It just, if there was an Iranian ship
Yeah.
out there and they were throwing drones over United States territory, and they knew it a month ago, and it was still continuing now.
Right.
You've got to clean out. I don't know what I don't know what Hegseth does in the military. I mean, you're talking Coast Guard people got to go. You've got Pentagon people got to go. CIA. You've got to clean out. If that was truly happening, and then you would hear the cry also because Biden, again, there was a story out there yesterday, ensuring that Iran is going to get more money.
Yeah.
Making sure that as he leaves that Iran gets more money. At that point, I'm like, if there was an Iran, you've got to investigate for an impeachment.
Yeah, you really do.
You do at that point. I mean, that was one of the things yesterday that I thought about, that I said that Republicans always should have hit harder. And that was the fact of what the hell is the president of the United States? I mean, they should have been screaming for the last year after October 7th on that. They should have been screaming every single day. What the hell is the president of the United States ensuring that the number one enemy that we have right now, the number one enemy that is attacked, the number one exporter of terrorism, where Trump stopped the money from going there and Biden opened it up immediately, they should have been on that from day one and never let up on it, because that's absolutely, people talk and they talk about, treason and things like that. And even though it doesn't fit under the actual legal definition of treason, under it, you look at it and you say, he's betraying the United States of America. The president of the United States is doing it, and I would have pounded that consistently, and they're still doing it.
Yeah, right.
And I wonder if day one, Trump's going to come back in and just, say, sorry, we're stopping everything to Iran.
Yeah.
I believe he has to do that. I believe he But, I mean, when you see everything, all the attacks that we know has come from Iran, I mean, what a stupid game we've been playing.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to attack. Iran has attacked 20 of our facilities, and so we're going to strike back at them. Stop funding them.
Exactly.
Stop enabling them. Stop ensuring that they get the money to attack us.
Yep.
I mean, what the hell is wrong with the people of the United States? We all know that the president is doing that, and there doesn't seem to be an outrage across the board.
I don't know how in the world it's not the loudest outrage you've ever heard.
I know.
I just don't get it.
I don't neither, and that's the thing. As soon as I said Iran, I said if that's true, and again I had my doubts, but I said if that's true, you got to clean house anyway. But you got to clean house.
Yeah,
you got to clean up, because that is just what would the failure be across the board? CIA, NSA, Pentagon, Coast Guard. You're talking about failure, major failure. If that story was true, you'd be talking about major failure across the board. And at the same time, you have a president that is ensuring that Iran had the money not only to do that, but as we know, attack U.S. interests, attack U.S. military bases, kill U.S. Civilians. Go after U.S. military, and I mean the civilians, because as we know, Iran helped fund what happened in Israel, where American citizens were killed.
Right.
And you shake your head, going, why the heck isn't there a more of an outrage there? It's the other thing too that you and I talked about a couple of weeks ago, that this is the first time that I remember ever, since being alive, that hostages were taken and it was not a big story. American hostages were taken, and it was like the president just ignored it completely. It was never a big story at all. They never talked about it.
It's so bizarre. I was thinking about that the other day on a number of fronts, where there is just no mention. You think about the missing children with the broken border.
That's right.
Think about, it would be, because in the past, not only would it be a really big deal, but it becomes a cause for people. And in the social media age, then people are all about causes, right? How in the world is there not just widespread? How is it not viral every
Fury
single day?
Absolute. Now there was on our show. We talked about this.
Right.
What the hell you talk? The number was so great where we went and said, okay, it's got to be something wrong. It can't be 300,000, whatever they were talking about at the point.
Right.
I don't know what the number is now. The estimate is now, but that was a figure that was thrown out. And you and I went, well, come on, that. My first thought was nobody could be that inept to allow that to happen. Wrong. And it's like it at times it feels like you and I are the only ones looking at it, or people in our audience. There's a handful of us basically that we're the only ones aware of it. And I just don't get it. It's like you're turning around saying, is anybody else in the room? I know.
I mean, it's insane.
Does the signal go? Does the signal go out of this studio anywhere?
Right.
Or are we just in our? Are we like?
Are you and I secretly, instead of the talking points, we're being fed, bogus information, and this isn't actually happening? Because it can't be happening because nobody's upset about it. Whether it's October 7th and the hostages, or look, we know the anti-Semitism and the left and the radicals that are out there standing with Hamas. Well, we know all of that, but it's here we have, and then the broken border thing and hundreds of thousands of children that are missing. And you think about Homan. Homan is like a one-man band right now. I mean, I know there's other people, a lot of us that are concerned about that. But in terms of the voices out there right now, he's the one-man band and pretty damn good at it.
Who are you talking about?
Homan.
Oh, Tom Homan. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
So
he's. But you made me think of something else there when you brought up the anti-Semitism, because that was something else that hit me yesterday. The Wall Street Journal and everything pounding on Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
Because and also pounding on Bernie Sanders. There it is. Luigi Mangioni's Senate explainers. Warren and Sanders tell us why killing CEOs is understandable, and she had to back off. And people are like, well, I'm surprised by this. They're pro-terrorists. They're pro-Hamas.
Yeah.
They're pro-genocide of Jews. Why are you surprised?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
I mean, the administration, the president of the United States, the Biden administration is pro-terrorist. Why are you surprised?
This could be Iran with these drones. I don't know. I can't tell you that. Because again,
they're so incredibly inept. You can't, and so incredibly inept and immoral.
Yeah.
Where you cannot put anything. Remember, this is a president that lied to the American public about what the generals told him in Afghanistan. He'd out and outright lied
repeatedly,
and the American public was not upset about it that much.
No, they didn't.
Like, whatever, it's okay.
Well, no, that's enough.
Americans were killed. No big deal.
That's one of the other ones. Yeah. Again, there are a lot of us, especially military families and people who served, and a lot of us, in our audience, and that were very greatly concerned and saddened and outraged by what happened. But it's like, why in the world are we not hearing? How in the world did this not start a fire? With all of these things going on. By the way, the one I found the one in New York Post. Here is part of the letter that the lawmaker Van Drew he sent this letter, and it was obtained by someone at America News. I'm not sure what media group that is, but from that letter, this lawmaker writes, "We have information that a sea-based Iranian drone mothership is currently missing from port." Okay, whose port? What port? And that its embarkation timeline would align with the appearance of the New Jersey drones. In another part of the story, they say it was about a month ago that that they started all this deal, or this deal went down with Iran and China. I don't know. But here's the thing. It could be Iran. And under this president, because typically I would say, before Joe Biden, well, no, the military would know, and if that were it, it would have been handled by now. Then you think about China's balloon.
Yeah.
And that went on and on and on, and then later, yeah, it was China, but they didn't get much.
Well, and the thing is, when I heard yesterday when they came out and says, no, there is no, the administration has come out and said there's no mothership out there, and I'm
right.
I still highly doubt that that's the thing.
Right.
But my first reaction was, oh, okay. They said, oh, wait a minute, you can't believe a damn thing they say. They lied.
That's the whole thing.
Biden lied about what the generals told him about Afghanistan, which helped get 13 U.S. service members killed.
Just get
the hell out of office. Go.
Exactly.
Go. Get out. Just go. Leave early. We'll let you leave early.
Exactly.
Can we change the Constitution just to let him leave early? Get the hell out of Washington, D.C.
Come on, Democrats. You know you're with us. You know you want him gone.
They want him out, too.
He's doing more damage to your party with every day. You know you want him out.
Did you see Jill Biden talking about, did she know where she was going when she was talking about you need to feel joy and joy and joy? And then everybody just in the crowd laughs. And she goes, whoa, yeah, you're taking the wrong connotation of it. It was like, my God, she's mocking. And then she tried to come out and basically say, well, you've got the wrong connotation here. I'm not bringing that up.
Right.
I'm like, to hell you're not.
Yeah, the hell you're not. She was wearing solid red on Election Day.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Electrical systems are one of the most common causes of winter breakdowns. So when your batteries talk, it's important you listen. Keep an eye out for the warning signs that may indicate your electrical system needs attention to help avoid getting stuck out in the cold this winter. The most obvious sign that a battery-related issue is present is if your truck has trouble cranking at the proper speed. If you experience any sluggishness when starting your engine, get a full electrical system check from a trusted service provider.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Red Eye Radio, he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We got a ton of audio cuts. In fact, we got a great audio cut coming up here from Van Jones. Democrats, all you had to do was listen to Eric. This does not come from ego. It comes from listening to Van Jones yesterday and saying, that's exactly what we told you guys.
Yeah.
Everything that the Democrats now, when they're intellectually honest and when they say what is wrong with their party, all they had to do was listen to you and me over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. Well, the last
20 years.
30 years.
Exactly.
Everything. And so they know what the problem is.
Yeah, they keep pointing to it.
But it's great. We'll play that coming up. And plus that state representative who walked out of the Homeland Security briefing, it was hours long, and he goes, they told us nothing. We were there. I drove 2 hours.
Yeah.
Got 2 hours back, and nothing came from it at all.
Right.
I mean, the drone thing's, it's a really, really interesting story. We'll know eventually what it is. Well, we may not know, because if it is United States, the Pentagon has denied it. They wouldn't tell you, just like in Operation Blue Book. They didn't tell anybody.
Right.
And they knew it.
Right.
And they're fine with people going, well, maybe UFOs, it may be this.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Right.
Jingle all the way. with Red Eye Radio. Merry Christmas to you and yours.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. All right, calm down a little bit. Some nice Christmas music there.
Yeah.
Just...
Don't think about the drones. Don't think about the drones. Don't think about the drones. It's not Iran. It's not Iran. It's not Iran.
It was one of those days where I was just, every time I checked my phone, I was like, ah!
I know.
Now,
well, but it's just frustrating right now.
Now, this one's 2 days old, but I want to play this one.
All right.
Because we didn't get to it yesterday. There's 5 hours isn't enough. But Karine Jean-Pierre, when asked, if she and the administration has, brought anything different.
Okay.
Here we go.
One of the things that we have, I hope you all agree, in this administration is we have brought back the norms of how to engage with the press.
Do we have to go any further?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
We brought back the norms of how to engage with the press.
Right. Yeah.
We have decided, we brought back the norms of being pathological liars and gaslighting because you people are just sheep.
Right.
Except for maybe a few of you from Fox or the New York Post. The rest of you are sheep.
Right.
You sit there and you listen to my pathological line, and that's the way that it should be in the United States.
Right. And nobody calls me out for it except for one guy.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe a few.
And in the last week, you had more. But,
right.
Because
they're finally waking up going, I think they're lying to us. It's crazy.
It's been 3 years and 11 months.
Right.
And we just realized Karine Jean-Pierre is a pathological liar.
Right. Right.
Oh, my God. And she gaslights.
Right. Exactly.
We brought back the norms of how to engage with the press.
Wow.
That's a lie.
Yeah, exactly. All right. We'd have to get Frank Luntz on the phone and say, Frank, get all of the media that covers the White House, that are assigned to the White House, in a room and do your thing, right? Ask them. So, how many of you think... Raise your hand. That's insane. As you mentioned, it's a lie. But you know what? Just
go away.
Go.
Go. I'm willing to, I don't know if anybody else is, I'm willing to pay them for a month just to get them out.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Just get out now.
Go.
Bring everybody else in early.
Right.
A month early.
Right. Exactly.
Just get out.
Just go. Just go.
If you can't do that constitutionally, just everybody take a month vacation. It's not going to matter. Biden's taking a vacation constantly all the time anyway.
Tell me what he's actually done. Tell me, as president, what he's actually done.
I can make the argument that he does a better job because he does less damage when he's on vacation than when he's working.
Right. I mean, if you could, I don't know, there could be like a furlough thing for Biden and Kamala and all of their staff. Basically, you kind of usher in Speaker Johnson in the meantime.
Speaker Johnson becomes
just fill the seat, be there, let us know if anything's going on. And
Johnson, you got to work over the holidays.
Exactly. We got bad news for you.
Yeah,
we have good news and bad news. Good news for the nation, bad news for you. I remember the whole thing on in Trump's first term on the spending bill and the closing of the government and the whole thing, and he stayed at the White House. Remember during Christmas season, and the media were like, "Well, what is it?" They didn't know what to make of it.
Being Trump did.
Yeah, during his first term. That's what I'm saying. And he says,
I thought you were saying Mike Johnson did. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're talking about Trump.
Right. Okay. And he was like, I'm not going anywhere. The government's shut down. I'm gonna stay right here, and I'm not gonna. And the media was like, what? And they didn't really have anything to say about it.
Well, I always, you and I had this discussion a long time ago. If I was president, I'd be at the White House the vast majority of the time. Number one, because it's the White House. There could be nothing in my mind that could be greater than spending time at the White House.
Mm-hmm.
For me, knowing that you get in the first term, it may only be 4 years.
Right,
I'd want to soak up every single moment of being, in the White House.
I don't take any selfies, but I would be taking a lot of selfies for my great-grandkids. Hey, look.
Now, I might be hitting like the Georgetown bars because I'm single and going, hey,
Right.
want to come back to the White House with me? I'll show you the Lincoln bedroom. Oh, wait a minute. You're that woman online that slept with 100 women in the same day? I don't think so.
Yeah, no thanks.
By the way, is that a screwed up story or what?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some
what is the
mental illness or just some
I-
type of
I don't know
psychological. I can't.
I don't know where to put that at all. I don't know what is going on with a person like that. I mean, it's a weird story.
Yeah, it is such a weird.
It's really bothersome.
In case you didn't hear the story, there's this. What is she? She's a influencer, whatever she is, but
Yeah,
British
she has
woman,
something.
right?
Yeah, I think so.
And she said she's going to sleep with 100 men in one day, and apparently she did it. How do you do that? All right, you're number 74.
Well, this
Really?
this is me being really old fashioned. Doesn't sound like she got a lot of sleep. I'm doing the math on the 100. There wasn't much sleeping.
That's just a bizarre. That's somebody who needs some psychological help big time.
Well, it's like, where did that goal come from?
I don't know. It's so incredibly sick. You know something? People would say it's perverted. It's way beyond perversion.
Oh,
it's some kind of
it's
incredible. I don't know.
The ew factor on that one is through the roof. It's just it's bizarre. It's sick. It's gross. I just don't get it. I don't get that at all. I really don't get that at all. And that's basically what you're going to be known for.
Yeah. What did you do in your life? 100 men in a day.
Exactly.
Wow. Wow, you're really something.
Right.
There should be an award for you.
Right.
It's so incredible. When I saw that story, I go, this is so incredibly sick. I don't even know how to process this
I didn't,
one.
yeah.
And I've done this my whole life, and I can process most things. And it was like, I cannot at all.
Yeah.
This is just so incredibly sick and warped and perverted.
Yeah.
I can't come up with a word for it.
No. It's bizarre. Just bizarre.
So, all right, you ready for more?
All right, what do you got?
All right, this is Jill Biden yesterday.
Okay.
We got tons of audio cut, and this is we got a 3-day weekend.
Right.
Coming up. Let me see.
Dan Mendes in tomorrow.
Yeah, let me see. 24 hours from now.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Oh, yeah. You have your Christmas colonoscopy.
Yes, my Christmas colonoscopy coming up.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
And thank you for all the listeners that want to play doctor with what I should do with my life. I do appreciate it.
Right.
My physical.
Yeah. And there are no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Oh.
It's early in the show. I'm going to pace myself.
Just so people know, when I say 24 hours from now, it's because I have to
prepare.
Yes, you go through the preparation beforehand, and we're just going to call it preparation. Most people know what that is,
right?
But I have to be in there at 5:30 in the morning on Friday morning.
Yeah, I didn't know they worked that early.
Yeah, neither did I. They said you got to be in. They said we only have an appointment. This is months ago, because I wanted to get it. I wanted to normally because 5 years and I had some I had polyps before it was every 3 years. So, and this people tell me you shouldn't get a colonoscopy. It's like, shut up. You don't know anything about my medical history.
Right.
Butt out.
Right. I get it. I get butt out.
Yeah. Yes, butt out.
I got it.
But I need another word. I need another word. Give me another word. Otherwise, no. And just they didn't have any, and I knew we had this 3-day weekend. I said, okay, let's make it a Christmas colonoscopy.
Yeah.
And they said the only time we have. But now that I think about it, it's actually a good time. Because it gets over.
You start recovery early as well.
Yeah,
so,
because but the best thing is that fourth one, I believe this is for me. And so I know, because when a lot of people are, for some reason, men don't, I'm not going to, men, maybe women too, but I hear it more from men who have said, no, I will never do that. It's like, no, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's, the hardest part to me is not even the prep, and I was so scared of not scared. I hate being hungry.
Yeah.
But when you take the stuff, you're not really hungry.
No.
That was the thing. It was,
right.
And so, but yeah, 24 hours from now, I will be awake. And through prep stage, I will be in the middle of prep stage number 2.
Yeah. I get it.
Wait a minute.
It's, yeah. Everywhere you go, you can't say anything that doesn't relate.
I didn't mean to say it that way.
Yeah. It's You should ask though the doctor before you go in. Hey, I know you can't talk about specific patients, but if a Democratic lawmaker comes in, do you often find their head up there? Just asking a question. I'm just curious.
Okay, I'm thinking of the Seinfeld episode now, and we're not going to go there.
No. No, we're not. Exactly.
Fusilli Jerry. Anybody who knows the episode knows it.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
You ever see the outtakes of that?
No.
Oh, the outtakes remember when George's father comes in and Fusilli Jerry somehow ends up on the floor and he falls down
Yeah.
Million to one shot, Doctor. million to one shot. But the outtakes of it, they couldn't get through it. They had to do over and over and over and over again.
Wow.
Because when he fell on the corkscrew pasta.
Yeah. Oh my
they just couldn't get through it. They just couldn't get to.
Yeah.
They just were dying laughing.
Yeah.
So hard.
It was the wrong bit on the wrong day. The giggles were everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And Stiller.
Jerry Stiller.
Jerry Stiller was just.
he was so awesome. So funny.
Oh, he was just
so funny.
Yeah. He's what a talent. But let me play this quickly. All right,
okay.
Jill Biden. Okay. I don't know why we started talking about Jill Biden and all of a sudden colonoscopies came out.
Well,
all right, here it is. Here's Jill Biden yesterday. Listen to this. Here we go.
So I hope that you all feel that sense of, peace and light, and that just for a moment when you leave here today that you feel, a sense of joy. Because I think we all need we all need to feel joy now during this time of the season, during this time. So anyway, okay, now I'll start. You're all reading into that.
Oh, you're the first lady. We read into everything you say.
Wow, I mean, because that was almost verbatim, what Harris would say.
Right, exactly.
They all knew it. They're laughing. She even realized it, or she did.
Right.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. One of the interesting things that was held yesterday, it didn't really get enough coverage in the news, even in conservative media. Now, it did on social media, was you saw the New York Times panel discussion from all these people on both sides of the both the Harris campaign and Democrats and liberals, the New York Times, I don't know what you call it, round table.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, it was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just great. But one of the best moments was Van Jones. Van
Right.
Jones laid out, what we, not as blunt as we have, and he still won't go 100% of the way.
Yeah.
And he still doesn't get it completely, but he gets enough of it. And so we'll have that coming up because it's just beautiful to see the Democrats, trying to justify at times that they did the right thing, but he doesn't. And he talks about liberalism in general, not the Harris campaign, but where liberalism has failed. And all I've got to say, if they would have listened to Red Eye Radio and followed what we told them,
Yep.
well,
Would have
they
been different.
Maybe.
Top of the hour news is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
And good morning. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. We are Red Eye Radio. How's everybody doing? Well, the New York Times roundtable yesterday, and they had a number of panelists down there from the right and the left, Republicans, Democrats, analysts, and got really interesting. Van Jones talks about the problem with the Democratic Party. Now, just so you know, Van Jones, an advisor early on to President Obama, and when Obama first became president, even before he became president, the S word became the new N word.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Yeah. Socialist.
But one of the reasons was because Van Jones, who was an advisor to Obama, was known as an avowed socialist.
Mm-hmm.
So understand how far left he is, which is really amazing because he talks about how identity politics is a huge problem. Now, he doesn't say it the same way that we have done, but you'll hear it here in just a moment. But the weird thing is he's a socialist and understands that socialism absolutely relies on the victim-oppressor relationship.
Yeah.
But here it is yesterday, his analysis of what's wrong with the Democrats.
We're pushing people out of this party, and the last thing I'll say is, I hate all these people, the anti-woke, the anti-this, the anti-that, but you got to look in the mirror at a certain point. We've had 5 movements in a row in our party that rely on dehumanizing binaries, where you're putting down some people to lift somebody else up. I love all our movements, but there's a moral flaw when every movement's got to put somebody down. Black Lives Matter, all white people are racist. That is not going to work.
Oh,
no, hold on a second. That is in fact a part of the ideology that subconsciously there's unconscious bias, and the way that lands though for people is you're calling them names. There's got to be a better way to say it. You walk through all of our movements. You look at Bernie. I love Bernie. All billionaires are evil. Everybody 99% is a victim. Oprah Winfrey's a billionaire. She's not evil. You look at the climate movement. All traditional energy is evil, including poor, sick coal miners. Environmentalists can throw ketchup on the Mona Lisa and their heroes. That doesn't work. Look at Me Too. Look at now, if you're Jewish, you're a colonizer. If you're if you're for the Palestinians, you can do whatever you want to. These things are landing very poorly because it's not Dr. King. It's not Nelson Mandela. It's not Ella Jo Baker. It's not Van Hamer. Progressives are at our best when we're saying we want dignity for everybody. We want to free the jailed and the jailers. We want to free the people who have been oppressors and the people who have been oppressed. We want to free everybody. When you stand for everyone's dignity, everybody's humanity, the whole world stands with you. When you do these dehumanizing binaries, even though we're well-intentioned, it lands poorly. So there's a lot of stuff for us to look at. I think we can take these same movements, love everybody, bring everybody to the table, tell white guys we need them, tell white guys we're mad at them because we need them. We're mad at them because we love them, we want them on our side. There's a different way to talk about this stuff.
So I said he gets part of it, but not all of it, right?
Well, the part where he says we need to think of a different way to say it.
Yeah.
Say what?
And when he talked about good intentions, we have good No, you don't.
No.
There are no good intentions here.
It is to separate.
Right.
It is to clearly and without a question demonize one side in that equation, whatever you're talking about.
It seemed like where he started out was where he was saying we need a better way to lie to people.
Right. When he said, different way to say it, it was like, yeah, okay, you're not quite there. No, you're not thinking you're not saying what I think what I thought you were saying. It's.
I know, because I was
it's
laughing
so frustrating
the whole
because
time.
you just want to like stomp your feet and go, no, wait a minute, no. And he's saying, it's not Dr. King. It's not, well, no. Take the people out of the equation. What are you saying the message should be? If you, Van Jones, think it needs to be said differently, number one, what needs to be said differently, and how would you say it?
Right. Because you're saying Dr. King, he's not going to say that all white people are racist.
Right.
By the way, when he said that, he said BLM, but he meant critical race theory also.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, the whole idea behind critical race theory and what was going to be taught in schools.
Which, by the way, is what DEI became.
Well, it also came from his former boss. I mean, it was shared, at least from his former boss, that Obama had said, racism is in your DNA. Basically, you can't.
He did. Yep.
It's embedded in you. It's part of you. You can't change it. And the left took that even further. Well, and if you deny you're a racist, that makes it clear that you are a racist. Your denial of your racism shows your racism, and it's like, okay, you can't win. So, yeah, a lot of questions for Van Jones there.
Well, you and I have said this for the longest time, that the identity politics, and we've been talking identity politics. I mean, when I became a talk show host in 89, I was talking identity politics. By the time it got to be 1990, 1991, and what it was, because we saw the bigotry and the absolute racism coming from Democrats towards conservative blacks. Mm-hmm. That's where the modern identity politics movement really started. Yeah. I think what kicked it off, I think the spark was Clarence Thomas and the nomination. And then when modern talk radio got into its infancy, when I mean modern talk radio, I mean opinionated talk radio.
Right.
And, Rush became national. I believe it was 88 is when he became national. And then it started expanding. And then you had, because I was in that infancy of, the new modern talk radio, because I became a talk show host in 89. And by the early 90s, I remember, I knew a lot of these people because there was the National Association of Radio Talk Show Hosts. I used to go to the conventions all the time. It's when there was a camaraderie, even if you had a different opinion, from liberals, and there was a camaraderie that this is basically a new format in radio, which was great in broadcasting. Mm-hmm. And so everybody was celebrating that. Well, we see what came out at the end. Liberal talk radio really never made it, and conservative talk radio did.
Right.
Commercially. And so, but that's when we started seeing in the early 90s I remember, I believe Larry Elder was in at that time. And, Armstrong Williams, others that were in there that were called Uncle Toms, they were conservative. Mm-hmm. They said, look, we're conservative. Well, their skin color was black, and the bigotry started, there.
Still goes on today. Tim Scott is called an Uncle Tim.
Yep.
And we see that over and over again. they've never been afraid of, on the left, of owning that kind of bigotry, that mindset. Because what he's talking, Van Jones, you hear him talking about, well, this is what, when you talk about this and racism, then you're sending this message to white people. You're sending this. Well, hold on. You just brought up something. What message are you sending to black voters, black Americans who don't think on the left, who don't align with the left? What are you saying to them? We've talked about that.
Same thing.
And over and over again. And over the years, we've had, I don't know how many calls. I'm black, I'm a conservative, I can't, my family doesn't agree with me, or my friends don't agree with me, or whatever, but still I believe what I believe. Well, but the Democratic Party and the movement, again, wants to go after you. I don't know. I can't tell you what its intent is. But it sounds like Van Jones is trying to say, we can have the debate, but the attacks aren't working. But it has to be with the radicals a full-on attack. Because they can't have the debate.
But he understood, because where I know he knows. He can't sell it the way that he wishes to sell it because it won't be accepted. But when he talked about race, and they talked about billionaires, you and I said, one of the, when Bernie Sanders, and that came after, was it the Wall Street, not Operation Wall Street, what was it?
Occupy Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street. When that came, and the only thing that came out of that really was college ought to be free. But that really came from Bernie Sanders saying, billionaires are the reason that you can't get a college education. And we know that. Remember the caller we got, the woman who called? It was UCLA and said the same thing. Said, I am in so much debt, and, these billionaires have all this money. And it's like, okay, you're doing the victim oppressor narrative. And the Democrats, here's the other thing, too. He sort of makes it sound like they just happened upon it. We can't be doing this. It just sort of happened organically.
It's been going on for years.
Well, it didn't happen organically. This was calculated.
Right.
You said we're going to become, the idea was Democrats will become the party of victims.
Yeah.
And we will be the ones that will support the victims. Well, then, as we said, in order to broaden, because that's the goal of a political party, to broaden the number of people that will vote for you.
Yeah.
You need to create more victims. What they fail to understand is when you create more victims, you create more oppressors.
Right. Yep.
And then eventually, as we have stated for the longest time, it's going to start leaking out where there's going to be a leak here to your narrative where the victims are then going to become the oppressors.
Right.
And if you're a political party and your entire goal is to divide and not unify on the issues, you're going, if you listen to the show, we've been saying this for ages, this is exactly what you're going to get, a Democratic Party that can't figure out what the hell's going wrong, and somebody like Trump, who they demonized for the last decade as Hitler, racist, whatever, where minorities are moving in record numbers to vote for somebody that they believe in because they hear what he stands on the issues, and the mainstream media can't control the narrative on the issues anymore, and people go to different media and go, this is where he stands. Republicans won on the issues. That's where they won.
Yep.
And they won because Donald Trump was so passionate on core issues. And they listened to him back in 2016. Then they saw what the Democrats did when they were in power, and the dividing and the weaponization and everything else. And they said, nope, sorry. And now I don't know how the Democrats recover long term. I'm not saying they can't win a presidential election again, but I don't know how they recover long term.
Well, because I don't know that I don't have any confidence. I'm certain that they're not going to change their messaging, and they're not going to change their method.
Yeah, they haven't so far.
Right.
We've talked about this. He's you have these panel discussions, but that's not what's going on. I mean, you see the anti-Semitism is as great as it's ever been. Because what he won't say is the racist party is now the Democratic Party.
Right.
He can't say that. He's all around the border of that.
Well, exactly. He kind of points it
Right.
out, and he also points out that they're no longer the working class because he talked about coal miners, people working in the coal industry.
Right.
You're demonizing the people that work in that industry. The Democrats, the party, doesn't care about those people anymore, and they are the party of racism. That's really what he demonstrated there.
The Democrats have become the party of racism. And we've stated that for the longest time. If they just would have listened to Eric and Gary, we offered to counsel them
for free.
Well, not for free.
Well, they were getting it on the air for free.
I mean, you had said if they wanted you personally to work for them, I think. Well, what did your fee go up to?
It's more expensive than the Green New Deal.
All right, we started at
it's over $100 trillion now.
We started at $1 million during the Obama administration. That we'd both sell our souls for $1 million.
Right. Yeah. Wow. What a punk I was back then. What a chump. $1 million.
My mother heard me say that one time. That was so jokingly. She goes, "You were joking, right?" "Yeah, Mom."
Yeah.
My late mom.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes, Mom.
Yes.
Joking.
Absolutely.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max. Just because idling is common doesn't make it smart. Idling a diesel uses about a gallon of fuel per hour, which can cost you about $180 per week at $4.50 per gallon if your truck idles 8 hours a day. Idling easily can cost you a few thousand more in fuel alone per year, not including the added engine maintenance expense that results from excessive idling, harder on your truck's engine than highway driving. In addition to operating costs, many governments impose no idling laws and regulations with fines as high as $25,000. Instead, there are many alternatives: an extra blanket for cold temperatures, window screens for when the weather is warm, bunk heaters, and various auxiliary power unit options abound in this day and age too, many powered just by batteries. Otherwise, diesel and gas gensets burn far less fuel than your truck's engine. Research options to find your fit. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We'll get to more comments that were made yesterday at that New York Times roundtable. But, yeah, I mean, you have, if Van Jones understands what it is. He can't admit it because he agrees with identity politics. He just doesn't know how to sell it.
Well, and
that's the problem.
That's the problem, is that he's trying to say the demonization isn't working. Right. And if that's what he's trying to say, he's correct on that.
You have to gently nudge me
You have
into agreeing that I'm a racist.
No, exactly what I was about to say. We have to convince people that they're demons, that they're racist, that they're,
that they're evil.
We have to find another way, because he was saying we have to find another way to say it. We have to talk them into believing that they're racist. Or you have to talk coal miners into the idea, because he brought that up with energy, that they're involved in the wrong thing and they're part of killing the planet. I mean, that's basically I mean, that very well could be. It sounds like, that's more logical based on what he said.
Right.
That, we got to find a different way to say it. What you're saying is say the same thing. He's not saying we're wrong on the. He didn't anywhere say we're wrong on the message. It's how we're saying.
I'd love to be on one of those panel discussions. You people are idiots.
Yeah, right.
You lost because people disagree with you on the issues.
Right.
What are the issues? Identity politics. You're a bunch of damn racists.
Yep.
You're anti-Semitic.
Yep.
You're a misogynist when it comes to the radical transgender movement. Mm-hmm. What you want in the government and spending money created inflation that we see, that we see today.
Mm-hmm.
End of story.
Right.
Go ahead. Answer me now. Tell me where I'm wrong.
Exactly.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. Did you hear Trudeau the other day? Here we go. Ready?
All right.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Justin Trudeau, Prime
Right.
Minister of Canada.
Right.
Here we go.
No, it shouldn't be that way. It wasn't supposed to be that way. We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards progress. And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist. You will always have an ally in me and in my government.
You're a man, I think.
I don't know. I can't speak for him.
Oh, my God.
Is anybody else hearing this?
My God.
Seriously.
Canada, come on. Canada, you really can't talk about us with this idiot as your prime minister.
Right. Where do you even go? Is that stuff now overdone with the people on the left? The rank and file, are they now listening to that going, oh,
Well,
okay, we gotta move on.
This
from
election show, we're sick of it in the United States. I don't know if they're sick of it in Canada.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
In Alberta, they are. We know that. But
Alberta, they've been sick of it for a couple hundred years.
And the Northwest Territories are probably what?
Yeah, it's
But I loved it. It was like, basically he's trying to make the false case that women aren't advancing in the Western world.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gives the example of Trump winning the presidency as an example that, look, feminism is dying in the United States because the feminists themselves, if you want to know, because he's talking about the fact that women and that women's rights and women's opportunities are going away. The biggest reason that women's opportunities are going away and that women are treated as second-class citizens is because the man dictates to willing feminists that they must submit to the man. And they're all damn Democrats and liberals.
Well, to that point, Trudeau is probably angered a lot of the radicals on the left because he says he's a feminist. Navratilova, in terms of feminists and the feminist movement, well, she's now the enemy.
Well, yeah,
so
how can he call himself a feminist when he fully endorses the radical transgender movement?
Right.
How can
Which
you
one
say,
is it? Yeah, you either have to be a feminist or support the radical transgender movement.
I have to ask the question, are you a feminist for women?
Well, he is a guy saying he's a feminist, so wow.
But is he a feminist for women when he believes
I think-
that men should dictate what the definition of a woman is?
I think it's that moment in Ghostbusters where we just crossed streams. Things are about to explode.
But
Heads are about to explode.
But seriously, you Canadians who said Trump was bad, you've got a complete idiot as a prime minister.
Yeah.
I mean, a complete moron as a prime minister.
That was painful and so cringe to listen to just now.
To my Canadian friends out there,
Mm-hmm.
Biden is better than Trudeau. That's how bad Trudeau is.
Right.
He's a complete moronic, patronizing moron.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so weak, and even saying it, he's so incredibly weak.
It really is so pandering.
Yeah, isn't it?
It's pandering. It really is. It's the worst kind of. I should pull back on worst. It's a really horrible kind. I don't know how to rate it, of virtue signaling. It is. I need you to believe this about me.
The worst damage to women in Canada is coming from Trudeau for promoting the radical transgender movement.
Yeah. And helping shape laws around it, by
Yep.
the way. And even the laws that govern the way you talk.
So tell Pierre to get on this
Exactly.
and pound on Trudeau.
Right.
We know he will. But seriously, I mean, for God's sake.
Yeah, it's
for God's sake.
I mean, it's so painful to listen to.
Right.
So bad. It sounds like it sounds like an unfunny bit from SNL. You know that moment, like in the last 30 minutes of SNL, where you're going, okay, they just threw this one in because they needed a filler. That's what it sounds like.
And the worst insult he could ever do, as I said a couple of weeks ago, forget about politics, what he did to Canadian music.
Mm-hmm.
Dancing to Taylor Swift when he claims to be a Tragically Hip fan. My God!
Yeah.
That's how you know he's a complete moron. I'm going to dance to Taylor Swift. And I'm also a legitimate Tragically Hip fan. For people that don't know, Tragically Hip in the United States, probably when you look at it, considered one of the most premier Canadian bands because, you know, they sang Canadian music, and the lead singer a couple of years ago, Gord Downie, died of brain cancer. Mm-hmm. And when you grow up on the border, I grew up in Buffalo, and, you know, huge Hip fan. And, but, you know, he was all around there when Gord Downie got brain cancer. He was at the last concert, and the cameras were on him constantly. Mm-hmm. And so when I saw him at the Taylor Swift concert dancing, I went, well, that's it's almost heresy.
Exactly.
At least that's how I
exactly.
did it. And I do have my Canadian ancestry.
Right.
My grandfather immigrated from, you know, something that's really interesting. My grandfather immigrated from Canada in the early part of the last century. And the reason was the incredible bigotry in the Toronto area towards Irish Catholics.
Mm.
Just so you know.
Wow.
So I am demanding reparations from Canada.
Right. Or at least, at the very least, that they get a new prime minister.
Yeah, well, okay.
Let's start there.
All right. Forget about the reparations.
Just some common sense.
Well, the thing is, when, you know, I've talked about this before. A couple of my huge influences in talk radio were Canadian talk show hosts. I don't know if they could do what they did back in the late 80s and 90s, if they could do that today. And I'm talking about, I loved Paul and Carol Mott from the Motts from Toronto. They were tremendous talk show host. Had a huge influence on me early on in my talk radio career.
Interesting.
And then the late, great John Michael from St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, Ontario. He was just, I've told the story about him before. I was just becoming a talk show host.
Yeah.
But I would listen to him because he worked middays, and I believe he was in, I don't know if he was in St. Catharines or Niagara Falls, Ontario at that time. but he did one of the greatest things ever, where he's sitting there and he's talking about some topics, very, very passionate.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, we don't have any phone calls. All right, let's practice a little bit. He starts playing the harmonica.
Wow.
Played the harmonica for like 2 or 3 minutes. All right, we got somebody on the line and went to the phone call. I mean, never, for the life of me. I mean, you talk about taking it to left field.
Yeah.
And it's like you would think, imagine if there was a program director, what the hell's this guy doing playing the harmonica?
Right.
Well, I mean, I'm glued to the radio. It's like, I can't, how is this going to end?
Right, exactly.
The guy's playing harmonica on the air
Right.
because he's got no phone calls.
Right. Wow.
I think the phone call was like, John, that was wonderful. And then I got to meet him a couple of years later. We had done something because I was working in Niagara Falls, Canada. That's where I started my talk radio career, and he was across the border. And I can't remember. We met sometime. We had lunch. He came to the station. It was really a great thing. So my family comes from Canada. When you grow up on the border, as I did, there was no difference. When I was a kid, we rode our bikes over the Peace Bridge.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, we would go, you know, you'd have to talk to customs. We had no ID.
Right.
And for most of the part, until really 9/11, you could cross the border without anything. And they would know.
Yeah.
They would know if you're from Buffalo, that ask a couple of questions and, boom.
Yeah, in Del Rio, we crossed the border. Yeah, it was a regular basis.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't ride our bikes across the border as kids to go over there. Usually you're with your family or, it's a school outing and marching band in high school. We would march across and there were a couple of parades we were in. We'd go through Acuna basically and back into the States. But it always fascinated me because in terms of the Canadian border, because the rules started to change on what you could say on the air and, our rules versus theirs. And there's signals from the U.S. going into Canada.
Yeah.
We know we've got people listening.
Well, yeah, when I worked in Buffalo, we had 1-800 lines set up just for Toronto and St. Catharines and Hamilton and Fort Erie and
I was told years ago that's one of the things that they kind of switched the nature. I don't know if, how it works now, but years ago, our phones basically was updated to make sure that listeners from Canada could call in, to our show. And there was something that was, I don't know, either the company I think was people were taking on the consumer or the listener had a cost in calling in or something, and then we changed the 800, and basically the company picked up that cost.
And that was probably because of our 50,000-watt stations like WJR in Detroit.
Yeah.
WLS
exactly.
in Chicago.
Yeah. And now streaming, so.
Yeah, exactly. Now streaming, but I mean early on.
Yeah,
I remember crossing. We used to cross Saturday mornings when I played for the bank, our bank team, Marine Midland hockey team. We used to always practice at that old, I can't remember the name of it, the old hockey arena in Fort Erie. I don't even know if it's there. I mean, it was really old, but we used to practice there all the time. So yeah, I mean, so and so you listen to you listen and watch the media up there,
right?
You just do. I mean, I saw SCTV before it became popular because we watched it on Canadian TV.
Right.
You saw John Candy for the first time. You're just like, what the hell is this? It was great. I mean, back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, so don't get angry. You stay out of our business, Yankee. Nah, we're gonna hit Trudeau.
Yeah.
We're gonna treat you just like we would any American, Canada.
Exactly.
We're gonna insult you just like we insult the liberals here.
Exactly. That way, when we take over Canada, it'll be easier.
The 50. Oh, good God! The stupid discussions on that this week. And it's like, what would we do with the 51st state? I mean, would they?
Well, we can
not happening.
We can guarantee snow for Christmas, probably. It's just so silly.
It got interesting. The funny stuff, though. I mean, maybe they don't become the 51st state. Maybe we start trading like states and provinces. That was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, right.
And they get California, Oregon, Illinois, New York, and
We get
we'll
Alberta,
take Alberta.
and nothing. We don't want anything else. Just Alberta.
It's-
That's all we want. We just Alberta. That's it. That's all we ask.
and maybe a couple of their classic rock bands.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right.
Yeah,
We'll take. I'll take Saga and Max Webster. That's who I'll take from Canada.
right.
You can. We're not taking Bieber,
We're not taking Bieber.
and we're not going to take Rush from you. So it's
That's a tough decision, but we won't.
we won't.
We won't.
Oh my gosh. 866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Look at this headline, Eric. Whitmer signals, governor of Michigan, signals willingness to work with President-elect. I know Donald Trump cares about Michigan. Hitler cares about Michigan.
Wow, amazing. That's quite the turn.
Wow.
Wow. It's amazing. The Hitler endorsements from the left,
More coming in
they're
every
just
day.
every single day they're piling up. Wow. Well, we should have known they let Dick Cheney in, so. Remember, he was Hitler at one time.
Oh, we should have known. Okay.
I should have known, I guess.
I didn't see the early warning
Exactly.
signal there.
Exactly.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA. We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here, as always.
This is our Friday.
Yeah, it is. 3-day weekend that we have.
Marconi Award winner Dan Mandis will fill in for us tomorrow. Everybody loves Dan. We're very grateful to have Dan available. Dan's a hard worker.
He works all the time.
Seriously. Even when he's not filling in for us. I mean, he's up during our show on X, posting a lot. That's part of show prep, because he does mornings there at our great affiliate, WTN in Nashville. And, you have to, I think you and I both said it, that's probably a harder shift than overnights.
Yeah, it is.
But
Yeah.
Dan essentially works kind of overnights, but his show keeps going on longer than ours.
Yeah.
Because, but he's really hard worker.
He's up really early at times.
Really early,
I've seen him posting at like 1 in the morning. I'm like, dude,
I know.
you got to be up to do a show. When
I
when
know
you
it's
sleep.
it's wild, but he and Matt and all the folks over there at WTN, great station. We're grateful to have Dan on occasion. Matt fill in, and it's it really is. It's like, wow, that's cool. So he'll be here tomorrow. He's also going to fill in. Next week is our last week of the year on the air, and then we're off until after the 1st. We come in the night of the 1st, the morning of the 2nd, January 2nd. But Dan will be filling in on a number of those days as well. So thank you, Dan.
Are you
we can't
kidding
thank
me?
you enough. What? Dan?
I
No, seriously,
I can't come in. No, I can't. I can't come in then with a hangover from partying so hard on New Year's.
Well, get an Uber and just keep the party going. I don't know.
I haven't made it to. I've not made it to midnight. I don't think since like 2006 or 7. I think been that long since I've actually been up.
Well,
when the new year comes in,
we're at the age now, or my wife and I. When I'm off, I kind of flip my schedule so we can spend time together. But it's where you go to bed early, you fall asleep like 8:30. The next thing you know, about 1:30, on occasion we both wake up at the same time. It's like, let's turn on some YouTube or something. So on a night like that, it's like, oh yeah, well, Happy New Year. We're at that age where being up at 1:00 in the morning isn't because of partying; it's because you've already been asleep for 5 or 6 hours. But I'm looking forward to it because it gets us closer to January 20th. It gets us closer to what I hope will be a true turn. I'm confident that it will be, and that is encouraging. I'm hopeful that a lot of this radical behavior, at least at the government level, is gone. Maybe it's just temporary. I'm guessing it will be. The Democrats aren't done for sure, but how they're going to win elections going forward is, again, you and I have been scratching our heads. There is that. I'm with Jill Biden. I think the First Lady. I think we should have this joy this time of year, and about everything that's going on. It was funny because it was like she was mocking Kamala. But for me, it's that confidence, not just in Trump, but the American people, how the election went, what it is we're all asking for. You saw inflation still not tamed. Those numbers came out yesterday.
Yeah, saw that.
And it's and it's the media, and prices are still stubborn. It's not going to change. It's these are the things that you and I have talked about because our audience, they know it. They're well informed, but a lot of people don't understand that prices aren't going to come down. We have to expand people's buying power through the expansion of wealth, and that's what I hope is going to happen as a result of policies in place put there by the new administration. But
that's
maybe
why
Congress gets some things done too.
Well, that's why that's what the challenge is.
Yep, exactly.
Inflation is very, very stubborn.
Yep.
If you can win the intimidation battle on the tariffs and you actually don't implement them because the other side capitulates,
right,
then you get a win.
Right.
If that doesn't happen and you put on tariffs and the retaliatory tariffs come back at you, well, that's another situation. Right. That's still to be seen what's going to happen. I saw Doug Ford, the premier of Ontario, saying, no, we're going to slap tariffs back on the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we'll see what happens there. But then when you look at cutting, yesterday the House passed again, they're not going to cut on defense. Defense now $895.2 billion, for national defense. They may add, though, they may tag on another $100 billion to see if we can get the technology to find strange drones in the sky. Okay, I made that one up.
Exactly.
No, $895 billion. So as I said last week, we're not cutting back on defense. We're not going to cut back on Social Security. We're not going to cut back on Medicare. And so where do you find the $2 trillion to cut?
Right.
And you talk about waste and everything else, and I hope they get there. And I'm not against, believe me, I'm not against what they're doing. I'm just saying they're promising an awful lot.
Right.
They're promising we're going to take a huge chunk off, and the question is, where do you get all of it when the three major drivers of the federal budget, defense, Medicare, defense, Social Security, Medicare, and the interest on the debt now are not going away.
Right.
And those are huge numbers, that you have. And if you're not going to touch anything, this administration coming in has got a lot of challenges if they wish to do it. I wish them luck. I want them to succeed. You said it a long time ago. Did Biden leave them so much of a garbage heap that it's impossible to get there? Yeah. I guess we'll see.
Well, and because I'm confident that there are a number of Democrats out there in office and looking at this or wanting to be in office at some point, looking at 24 as, well, okay, so Trump wins, great, let him inherit Biden's mess. Biden's mess gets cut short by 4 years because he doesn't get a second term, and we'll come back in 28, however that is. Now, having said that, I can't tell you what those individuals are thinking they need to promote in order to get there and get back in 28 and what they would do different than Biden, because they've always been about spend, 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 which is inflation, inflation, inflation all over again. We'll see. But I really think, it is beyond a mess. Everything is severely broken. It's like a catastrophic event on so many levels where you go in and you're just, okay, how do we rebuild everything? You look at each department where there are concerns, and it's just, the drone thing is one more, the whole New Jersey drone thing. By the way, the New Jersey Drones is the name of my next band. Full stop. Has to be a punk band, I think. But the New Jersey drone thing is one of these examples of we don't know what to believe, because if it's the government testing and only a handful of people are aware of that, they're never going to say anything, and that could be the case. If it's Iran or it's another nation or it's a group of individuals wishing to do Americans harm, it also could be that because this administration, we should know that it should be shut down by now, but we're trusting, that requires that we trust Biden to get that done. And there's no way in the world I trust him to do that. So, it's just kind of an indicator as to how dangerous it is right now, and still dangerous for well over a month.
Getting back to the where do you trim the budget? When you see that, again, the House just passed, $895 billion for defense. And as we said, defense isn't going down. Medicare isn't going down. Social Security isn't going down. So where do you cut? Well, one of the things, Mark Mills in City Journal had a article that, where you really can target trillions, if you want to really cut out the biggest part of the increased spending over the last couple of years, you go right to the Inflation Reduction Act. And you gut that. You take that out because of the trillions of dollars in spending for climate change goals. Now, you could put that into reconciliation. You could do that twice in a year. You could axe out completely. You could get completely get rid of the Inflation Reduction Act. So you're talking about a savings of trillions over a period of time. What would that be precisely in a year? I don't know. But you're talking about one of the biggest increases in drivers of the deficit over the next 10 years is the Inflation Reduction Act. And you would think, yesterday I saw that the Pew Research poll came out. What is the last issue of concern for Americans right now? Climate change.
Yeah.
It's last on the list. Now you think, and this is the challenge that you have. You think, okay, well then we go after that.
Right.
Well, you've got 18 House Republicans that have already said they will not repeal the Inflation Reduction Act because why? So much of the money goes even to red states for their, we talk about, before Texas started, waking up, it was a couple of weeks before Free Zola. You had our Governor Abbott, who's viewed as was touting wind power. And then, boom, Frizola came, and it's like, uh-oh.
Right.
So Republicans, you and I talked about how Newt Gingrich jumped very early on and said, look, we can't defeat this climate change argument. It may be bogus, but we have to go along with it. And remember, he sat on the bench with Nancy Pelosi?
Right.
Well, that's the problem you have with cutting, is something that the American public does not view as a problem. It's the last of the problems, according to the last Pew Research poll. We can't even cut that money that's basically going down the toilet.
Right.
So where are you going to cut? It's great to sit there and do all this cheerleading over the last couple of weeks, but the cheerleading, look, I don't give a damn about the cheerleading. I know a lot of Republicans do. Yeah, Elon Musk's going to do that. Yeah, rah. And it's fine, but it's only cheerleading. It's not the game on the field.
Let's celebrate after the win.
Yeah, exactly. That would be, because it's going to be tough. And that's one of the things that was pointed out in the City Journal article. 18 House Republicans have already said they will not do it. And that's the easiest money to cut. That's not going to affect anybody and their benefits or anything. And you can't even get Republicans to want to cut that.
Right.
Now, can you pressure them? Could Trump do it? Maybe, maybe not. But that's where we talked about how that one vote was so important. And a couple of weeks ago, the cheerleading was on. Gates is great. Gates is great. Now Gates has totally betrayed Trump and the Republican Party, and nobody talks about it anymore.
Right.
He didn't have to resign. That was one extra vote.
Right.
And now, right now, it's one vote leading into the first 6 months.
Yeah,
and Gates,
insane.
and remember, Republican, the surrogates, if you don't vote for Gates, then we're going to primary you. Now, nobody's talking about Gates.
No. Why?
He betrayed the Republicans and Trump, and nobody talks about it except us on our show. I haven't heard anyone else bring that up.
No. Look, this is an uphill battle all day long. It's an uphill battle.
And Gates is now going to be on OAN. He gets a job there in a very conservative network, as if he's the conservative guy pushing for it, and he abandoned the Republican Party and he abandoned Trump.
Right. Yeah.
And so, we get into these little stupid games ourselves of cheerleading this and cheerleading that. Understand what has to be done is almost impossible. And if they do it, I'll be the first one to say, God bless you guys and gals. That was unbelievable what you did.
I'll definitely celebrate the win. Let's get the win first.
Yeah, exactly. Get the win. I'm a Bills fan. Unless you get the Super Bowl, I don't give a damn.
Exactly.
I don't care about MVP. I don't care about division titles. Get me the Super Bowl or shut up.
Right. Look, you build momentum when you get in, when you actually get a touchdown. As a Cowboys fan, I can remember those.
But I like the moral equivalency that I played there is if winning a Super Bowl and getting the budget down is there's some type of moral equivalency there.
I know. We all know with you, it's more about the Super Bowl.
Exactly right. To hell with the country.
We know where your priorities are.
No, I just want to, you and I just want to put some, some reality to the situation and the fight that's out there. And
look,
sometimes the hype and the cheerleading gets so loud, we're like, just shut up.
We all want the same thing, but let's stay focused on what it requires, because it will require Trump to do a lot of the heavy lifting and consensus building.
He's got to sell this.
Yes, he's got to get out there and sell it. I think he's in much better position than he's ever been.
I agree.
To do that.
8-6, and remember, he got the corporate tax rate cut.
Exactly.
We never believed he could do it. So.
And he didn't have near the consensus and support from his own party then that he has now.
He has as much chance of doing this as the Bills winning the Super Bowl this year. I don't know if that was a good analogy.
Wow, what if the Bills win?
Yeah.
If the Bills win, it's going to be, what's happening? He might get it done.
I'll be working that night. Somebody said, you'll work that night if they win the Super Bowl? I go, yeah.
Are you kidding me?
And I said, and if they don't win, if they get in it, I'll also be here because otherwise I'd be in a gutter somewhere.
I'll definitely be here celebrating that you won't be whining as much.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. I want to make sure we get to a couple of audio cuts, well, at least one good audio cut from the hearing the other day. The Democrats saw it in the Senate, and we had talked about it. I think we played one audio the other day. Okay. But the Democrats, we need to get on top of this. So the Democrats run the Senate, so they had a hearing on mass deportations. Do you notice how the media didn't cover it at all?
Yeah.
Democrats, right. I didn't see any coverage on it at all. Because the highlight moments are the Republicans pounding on these witnesses.
Right.
And they say, how can you say, you're not going to go here? But this is where the Democrats are clueless. When I saw that the other day, I went, is this the House? No, it's the Senate. Well, wait a minute. If it's the Senate, that means Democrats had to call for a hearing on mass deportations. They're not going to win this.
No, we said that on the air.
My first thought.
Why are you still on this? You're not winning it.
In fact,
and you're definitely post-election, you're not winning it.
Post-election, we've seen it going in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
Where
Right.
people are now saying, okay, all right, we need this to stop. Trump's in. There seems to be more momentum that, this actually has a possibility of happening.
Right.
And you really wonder if people have become so jaded where part of the, I don't know if they're going to, was really the fact that they're not going to do it, so I don't have an opinion on it.
That's a great point. They might. That could be the case with a lot of people.
Santa never misses a show with the Red Eye Radio app. Download your very own in the App Store.
Makes a great gift.
Yes. And it's free.
It's free. Tell your loved ones it costs them a lot of money. It costs you a lot of money.
It's the thought that counts.
It's the thought that counts. It's our thoughts that count.
All right, so the Democrats decided in the Senate it'd be great to hold a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on the impact of possible mass deportations. Well, as I said before, when I heard that, I went, really? They still think that they can get the political edge on this? And then I went, okay, let me see if there's any buzz on this, even on social media. There's really not a lot of buzz on social media at all, except for Republicans.
Right.
Oh, who said it the other day? Somebody said it yesterday. What's the new, what's the service, Blue Sky? Somebody won't. Democrats only want to go to Blue Sky because they can't debate. They can't win on the issues, so they're all going to basically, be a bunch of cheerleaders.
Right.
For each other. But
right.
You know how boring that gets real quick?
Very quickly.
It gets boring very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Part of the excitement on X. All of the excitement on X.
Any and all of the excitement on X.
Any and all the excitement is the debates going back and forth. And then, all of a sudden somebody puts something out there and the community notes fact check them. Oh, man, that's so enjoyable. And then then they rave about it. So, but we've said this for the longest time that Democrats don't want to debate the issues because they can't win on the issues. And what they have to understand, they can throw out, hour-long monologues about demographic shifts and maybe part of the problem is this or whatever. But to be very blunt, and that's what we always are, they lost because they suck on the issues.
Mm-hmm.
That simple. People voted for Republicans because they said, we like where they stand on the issues. And where was it? Was it the deportations we saw the other day of criminal illegal immigrants? It's over 50% of Democrats want that.
Right.
And it's just like, and so And I did see the Trump, what was the poll that came out? Job approval in the transition, 55-45 positive, which are numbers he hasn't seen.
It's mind-boggling.
And on the actual issues, higher than his favorability on the transition.
Right.
On
right.
those
yeah.
actual
right.
issues. And so, if the public is really issue driven, there's hard times for Democrats coming.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw the Senate Judiciary Committee did it, I went, wow, the Republicans, they're not in charge. Wow, the Democrats did this. Now, the only reason they would do this is that they think they can get an upper hand, which they did not. Let's hear a little bit of Ted Cruz. This was actually 2 days ago.
Elections have consequences. For the last 4 years, we have seen the most radical experiment in open borders this nation has ever seen. There are many reasons the American people showed up in overwhelming numbers to vote, to reelect Donald Trump, to elect a Republican majority in the Senate, to reelect a Republican majority in the House, but there was no reason more front and center than the open borders of the last 4 years. And I have to say, I think there were a number of us wondering, did any of the Democrats in Congress learn anything from the election? And the existence of this hearing makes very clear the answer is no. We've seen 12 million people come into this country illegally under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. My home state of Texas has seen more than any state in the country. There is a reason that the Rio Grande Valley, which has been Democrat for over 100 years, flipped red this election. Because when your home is invaded by more than 12 million people, it changes your voting patterns. Every single day, we have seen Americans murdered. We have seen women raped. We have seen children brutalized by criminal illegal aliens released deliberately by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. The numbers are staggering. According to ICE, as of July 21st, 2024, nearly 650,000 criminal illegal aliens were currently on ICE's non-detained docket, which means they've been released. They're wandering around. They're free. And of those 650,000, 14,944 have been convicted of homicide. You want to know what mass deportation is? Those 14,944 better pack their bags right now. Because with a new administration, we're going to show up, we're going to arrest you, and we are going to deport you. 20,061 have been convicted of sexual assault. Now, I want you to ask of my Democrat colleagues, and it is striking that virtually none of them are here. That is reflected in their conduct because they are silent and putting their head in the sand as to the human tragedies. But what resident of what blue state says, you know what, America's better off with 20,000 rapists being released into this country? 105,146 have been convicted of assault. I would ask my Democrat colleagues if they were here, why the hell today does the Biden administration not go and arrest every one of these criminals and deport them? What rational world says America's better off with more criminals? And these are not just statistics. Ms. Moran, thank you for being here. The country grieves the loss of your daughter. Your daughter was beautiful. She was a mom who I know loved her kids. And she's not with us today. She was raped and murdered because this administration chose to release a violent criminal into America. Your daughter should still be alive. And every one of these victims should still be alive. Laken Riley, a name that the Democrats on this committee can't bring themselves to utter, should still be alive. And in my hometown of Houston, Jocelyn Nungry, I've gotten to know Jocelyn's mother, Alexis, very well. Ms. Moran, like you, Alexis is incredibly brave. I cannot imagine the pain. I'm a father. To lose your child, no parent should have to bury their child. Children should bury their parents, not the other way around. It is wrong what happened to you. But I want to say to you, thank you for having the courage to tell Rachel's story. I would understand if you just curled up in a ball and cried. But, and I'm sure you have wept a lot of tears. But thank you for having the courage to tell Rachel's story. And I want to say, if there is anything that is a mandate from this election, it is to end this insanity, stop these murders, stop these rapes, stop these assaults, protect our citizens. And Ms. Marin, I just want to give you the opportunity at the end of my questioning to share from your perspective why this matters, why we should stop releasing criminals into America.
In order to prepare for this hearing, I was actually looking at statistics over the last couple of days. And most of the rape and murder statistics by illegal immigrants are actually against children.
Yeah.
And to me, that's astounding. I don't know how many people here have children or grandchildren, but can you imagine your 7, 8, 9-year-old daughter being forcibly raped by a stranger, sometimes multiple times? This is the culture, and I realize it's not all immigrants, but this is the culture that they come from, this kind of violence. They grow up in it in their countries. To them, it's just part of what they've known for their lives. But to bring that criminal culture into America, it's destroying our families. I know of women in my hometown that have come up to me because they know I'm Rachel's mom and say to me, some guy just ran up behind me and tried to pull me down to the ground. And if it wasn't for the fact that I could fight him off and run to a store to call the police, I might not be here. And in one incident, that man had attacked 7 other women.
Wow.
Why are we allowing this?
There you go. That was 2 days ago. And as you see, Ted Cruz brought up exactly what we did. The Democrats called this, and then when these witnesses testified, knowing that the Republicans had their witnesses, which were the family members of victims, that they weren't there. They wouldn't even face these people.
Right.
You know, this is why, if they, and they still wonder, why do we lose?
They just don't get it. They never will.
No, they won't.
If you don't get it now, you never will.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care. They've never been genuine in their care for these lives. Again, you have to value life from the beginning. And they can't change. They're not going to campaign or govern in any other way. They're not going to protest in any other way than what they have been doing.
Well, the thing is, it's the Democrats who really called this whole thing. The Democrats call it, and then they don't want to be there.
They don't want to be there, yeah.
You know, if you're going to call something because you believe you've got the argument, then stay there for the entire time,
right,
and discuss the argument.
Right.
Challenge her.
Right.
Tell her how she's wrong.
Good luck with that.
I mean, you called it because you say you're correct on it. You're not furious about the 600,000 criminal illegal immigrants. There is no outrage in your party about it. But you call it. You call for this. You call for this hearing to do what?
Right.
And they just don't get it. This is more evidence the Democrats just don't get it, or don't want to get it, or they don't care.
They don't care.
They just don't give a damn about American citizens and American lives.
Nope. They don't care.
Because it doesn't make any sense to anybody out there. You know, if you want to have the debate on DACA, whatever, fine. But there is no outrage from Democrats from the criminal illegal immigrants that are here.
Right.
The murderers, the rapists, who they let back out into society. There's no rage about that either. In fact, they knew this was coming. So when the Republicans were going to interview these witnesses, they disappear.
Yeah.
They don't have the guts.
Nope.
They're gutless human beings who don't give a damn about American citizens' lives. Otherwise, they'd be saying, well, look, these are exceptions here of people that came in and no fault of their own. But the illegal immigrants that are criminals, get out of here. They'd be screaming at the Biden administration, and they haven't done a damn thing.
Nope, nothing. They don't even show up. Think about this.
Heartbreaking. And just looking into her eyes, you're just like, oh, God. You know, it's just, you know, and they just.
And every day, her pain doesn't go away. Yet, she's on a mission.
But think about this. I mean, the bizarre thing is the Democrats held this because they thought they could get a political advantage in these hearings the other day. And I'm like, they just.
You said it back then. You said, the other day, what do they think they're going to win? What do they, don't they understand what's going on here? How do you not read the room by now?
I know.
Just bizarre.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. More coming up from the mass deportation hearing. There's one more piece of audio I've got to play because you can tell the witnesses say one thing but mean another.
Right.
Because when they're cross-examined, and we'll let you hear one of the back and forth between a Republican senator and some of these witnesses. But still, I found it incredible, as I said the other day, and you remember it when I said, why the hell are the Democrats holding a thing on mass deportation?
Right.
They think they're going to win? They think they're going to convince? They haven't been able to convince anybody. They just lost an election on it.
Right.
What new ideas do they have? And you'll see through this back and forth, there's nothing new here.
Right, of course.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Before we get back to more audio on the other day this week, it was 2 days ago, was held the mass deportation hearing. The Senate Democrats said, okay, we're going to try to make, a political statement here. It really didn't work for them, but we'll get to another interview that was done. But I just happened to see this right here, a story about Elton John. And I guess he was named Icon of the Year this year.
Okay.
And part of his presentation talking about it was, the story came out late yesterday afternoon. Elton John legalizing cannabis, one of the greatest mistakes of all time. Wow. Marijuana is addictive and it leads to other drugs, said the singer, who was named Time Magazine's Icon of the Year. as we know, the tour ended. Remember the final tour, which started like 5 years ago? Did it start pre-COVID? Yeah, it did.
I think so, yeah.
Then,
Yeah.
who brought his touring career to an end last year, has been sober for 34 years. And he has helped fellow celebrities, including Eminem and Robbie Williams, to recover from addiction. As he was named Time Magazine's Icon of the Year, Elton said, marijuana is addictive. It leads to other drugs. And when you're stoned, and I've been stoned, you don't think normally. Legalizing marijuana in America and Canada is one of the greatest mistakes of all time. In a 1990 interview, he disclosed that the throat problems he experienced midway through an Australian tour in the 1980s were caused by marijuana. He said that he had given up using drugs after advice from doctors. You know, I don't know whether it's just because I pay not to have commercials on YouTube, but it just seems like there are so many interviews I'm seeing from celebrities. I didn't know Bradley Cooper was an alcoholic and quit alcohol 20 years ago. And I just see so many celebrities now who, when it comes to, alcohol and drugs, calling the legalization of marijuana, I'm not saying Bradley Cooper was, but so many of them now saying it was the wrong thing to do.
Well, there has been some other indicators where there are celebrities saying, yeah, I gave up drinking and drugs. I still smoke pot, but I'm working on that. Basically admitting they need to give it up.
I don't know who was on. It was somebody I saw on Rogan the other day, too, saying, nope, I had to give up everything.
Well,
I had to give up absolutely everything.
And that was interesting because Pete Davidson from SNL was one of those that said, well, but I still smoke weed. So you go through rehab. The thing is that.
Didn't he check himself in, though? For mental therapy or something?
Right.
In the last month?
Yeah. And so it was like, all right, but you're talking like you understand you need to give that up too. That you can't, because what do they call it? California Sober? It's actually a song. I think it's called, the title of the song is California Sober.
Wonderful. I like that.
Willie Nelson duet with another singer, another newer singer. And I apologize, I forget his name, but it's California Sober. Basically, I don't drink anymore. I still smoke weed. Well, you're not sober. You're not.
I always wondered about when, someone goes through drug rehabilitation and again, I'm not an expert on this. I do have a number of friends, though, that are in recovery, the vast majority for alcohol. And it's fascinating having discussions with them because when I talk to them and, it's like, oh, yeah, I think about it all the time. That's why I, keep going, they keep going to AA or whatever.
Yeah.
They said, because I actually think about it. I think about it. I go, really? Yeah. And I thought to myself, I don't think I ever thought, not that I didn't do stupid things, probably on alcohol more than anything else, in my youth especially, but I never thought about it. If I didn't have it for 6 months, I never thought about it. It just wasn't a thing. It was almost, if it was there, it was there, but I didn't think about it. And when I didn't have it, I didn't think about it. And so to me, that would have to be torture if you're saying I quit and I'm thinking about it all the time.
Eric Clapton once said, look, I didn't want to die when I was an alcoholic and I was drinking so much. I didn't want to die because I loved drinking.
Yeah,
if I died, I couldn't drink.
Yeah.
And then he talked about, too.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
When he said that, I'm sorry, but I laughed.
I mean, it was like, wow.
You're like, whoa, what a prison to be in.
And the whole idea of the crossroads thing when it comes to rehabilitation and that. And then he talked about also in the 80s. He was on television talking about how he no longer drank alcohol. And he said, and I was high as a kite on cocaine. It was my new thing. And, he said, you just kind of keep up that that image, well, because you're no longer drinking. Well, yeah, but you're still in very dangerous territory in terms of behavior. And all of this, honestly, has to be learned by the individual. Because if you first have to recognize yourself that there's an issue, and then you have to move on. That's why with the comment that I read by Pete Davidson, I don't know how recent it was, but it's recent years. About well, okay, yeah, but I still smoke pot, but he was essentially acknowledging eventually that has to be gone too. I don't know if that will be the case. Hopefully, he can find and all people can find a very good place. But ultimately, it starts with the individual recognizing. It's the whole thing about AA, right? You stand up and you say it, right? Mm-hmm. I'm John and I'm an alcoholic, and you have to acknowledge that. But in your heart, you have to know, okay, there's a problem, and I have to take the reins. I have to be the one. I didn't learn, comedian John Mulaney, I didn't know everything that was going on with him. I don't know if it was in pop culture or rumors going around or anything else before this, but his latest Netflix stand-up special, and he was on with Theo Vaughn. And Theo Vaughn has talked very openly about, having cocaine addiction in the past and everything else. And watching that episode of Theo Vaughn with John Mulaney, I was just learning that on that episode about John Mulaney's problems. And he talked very openly in the stand-up special about it. But it ended up being basically a 2-hour therapy session between the two, talking about, their past and their struggles and everything else with it and what they had done. Mulaney on his special talks about an intervention, and he talks about it was celebrity filled, and he walks in and there's a room full of celebrities.
Wow.
Seth Meyers was there. He goes, wow, you open the door and go, oh, okay, this is about my drug problem. Because it's everybody that he knows, right?
Yeah, I saw Theo Vaughn talking to Trump about his drug problem.
Mm-hmm.
When he had it.
Right. And
that
Theo
was
Vaughn's been very open about that.
And that was actually fascinating because Trump's never done anything.
Right. He's been sober all his life.
Yeah, and Theo. So that was a fascinating conversation. I just, you think about it because even when I think of in my youth or anybody that I hung around with back then, I mean they might get drunk on a Friday night, and some of them probably became alcoholics. But they didn't think about it again till it was party time.
Right.
They went on and they did that. You get to the point like Alice Cooper, where Alice Cooper was talking about when he finally hit bottom and it was him being at the house with Bernie Taupin, and they're just doing massive amounts of cocaine, and he's doing cocaine 24/7.
Yeah.
He's doing cocaine, then sleeping, then doing cocaine, then sleeping, then doing cocaine. Looked himself in the mirror, and he goes, I look like I was dead.
Yeah.
And you just think about that, for doing that, because he did that for years, you're involved in it.
Right.
How do you even survive? I mean, how do you even have any type of
it's
moral basis? You have no time to, if you drink, and I'm not advocating it, but I'm just saying people may, they get drunk, they get hungover, then they go, I'm not going to do it for a while, whatever. They may still have a problem, but your mind has a chance to recover. If you're doing it 24/7 constantly and harder stuff, how do you, man? And Alice Cooper he never went to recovery or anything. He just stopped cold turkey.
Yeah,
and never did it again.
Right. And he credits his faith.
Yeah.
If you look at, again, this has to be. That's one example. I'm not saying everyone is able to do it on their own, but it's one example as to how the individual has to decide has to really know and also put into practice all the new habits that will keep you from doing that. But you have to take the reins in order to change that. Because I think of John Mulaney and an intervention, right? There was a TV program built on it. But my question is, all right, success rate to what extent, right? If everybody's coming to you and you get it, and he, by the way, like he said, when he opened his door, and it was all these celebrities, all his friends, and, sitting there, and he's like, okay, this is probably about my drug problem. So he's admitting that he knew at that time that he had one. He talks about it in a stand-up special. It's very interesting, also still very funny, because I have to wonder, too, about, and Eddie Van Halen said this one time, when I quit drinking, I didn't know if I picked up the guitar, if it was going to be the same. Alex has been doing a tour of interviews. He wrote a book about his brother and him growing up. And he said in the one interview, the one in Los Angeles, they started drinking at the age of 11.
Yeah, I've seen that whole interview. My friend Katie was visiting, and she lives in Florida, but she was there, and she saw it, and she said it was great. And I watched that whole thing, and then I watched his interview. I believe it was with Anderson Cooper.
Yeah,
because I didn't even know Anderson Cooper. I learned this, does all these podcasts on grief.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. And I watched that one, and it was I thought it was very good.
But
I thought it was very good.
The coolest thing there was I had no idea what his personality was like. Alex Van Halen.
He didn't talk a lot.
Yeah, you never heard. And
he
so
didn't talk a lot.
It was interesting to see him talk. But the one thing that one show I related to, because of friends that I know, I got a couple of close friends that are in recovery and have been for a while, is did you ever see the show Mom, the comedy?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When knowing my friends and what they went through, and then watching that show, people that are in recovery and successful in it, which means you didn't drink or do anything today, and you keep it going. It takes a lot of courage to do that.
If you're that far gone, and that you keep it going, and you keep your sobriety going?
You keep your sobriety going. There's a lot of, because it's always on your mind. To me, that would be the biggest. Yeah, that would be the biggest torture for me. I think about things that, you always think, what couldn't I handle? I'm like, God, I can't imagine going through life every day. I like being addicted to this.
Yeah.
This is a good addiction.
Right.
I like waking up going, get me my phone. I got to do this.
Well,
I'm like, okay, that's a healthy addiction.
You make a good point. But it's also, I think, for a lot of people, maybe they don't understand. And again, I'm not even close to an expert, but I think it's also the routine, right? It's not just that you have to have the substance, whatever it is, but it's also the routine. Coming home from work or whatever it is, whenever you start that behavior, and it's like that routine, also surrounded by the same people, and they're engaging in that routine. They're part of that routine. Like you said,
right.
If you're doing something positive, that routine, and if there's a payoff for you, then that is a mental reward. It's that that's going on, and it drives you to do more of that. So I think a lot of people that are in that scenario, I would like to hear, maybe Dr. Drew could comment on something like that. How much of that with an individual is about the routine, because you have to break the routine. You have to not be around the people that are doing it if they're still doing it. You have to not have it around you, whatever it is that you're doing, and all of those things. But how many people don't realize the routine part of it is also a big part of it?
Well, for me, if I never had a drink in the rest of my life, I wouldn't even notice it.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, I just wouldn't.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't if I had Now, it might have been different when I was in college or younger, but I don't even think about it. And that to me would be the torture, the fact that, you've got the success, but the success is I didn't do it today, but I'm still thinking about it. that would be the torture for
Exactly.
me, that it would keep
and
coming
that,
back
that your
in my mind.
won't let
Yes.
that go, and your
Yes.
mind is always looking over there, and you're
And once I learned that with my friends who are in recovery, I went, man, they got a lot of courage. That's tough. I mean, they really
because every
got
day you're battling those
right.
thoughts.
There really is something. There is something in their mind that's different than my mind.
Yeah,
which I
right,
guess is
right.
what makes you an alcoholic,
Right. Yeah.
or whatever, or addicted officially.
Yeah.
But I always wondered about that when I'm off drugs and then they're smoking a cigarette. I go, isn't nicotine a drug?
Or coffee, or
Okay, well,
how far does it go?
It's like
right?
when 2.5 Men when Charlie Harper quit drinking, but he's drinking wine and beer. That's him quitting drinking.
Exactly. That's his sobriety.
Yes. 866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. At a roadside inspection, inspectors may ask to see supporting documents. A supporting document is a document generated or received by a motor carrier in the normal course of business that can be used by law enforcement to verify a driver's logs. These documents can include bills of lading, itineraries, schedules, or equivalent documents that indicate the origin and destination of each trip. They can also include dispatch or trip records, expense receipts related to on-duty/not driving periods, including receipts for meals, lodging, and fuel, electronic mobile communication transmitted through a fleet management system, and payroll records, settlement sheets, or equivalent documents that indicate payment to a driver. Drivers using paper logs must also keep toll receipts. Supporting documents must contain the driver's name, carrier-assigned identification number or vehicle unit number that can be linked to the driver, the date, the name of the nearest city, town, or village, and the time. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll have another back and forth exchange from the Senate Judiciary Committee holding a hearing on the impact of possible mass deportations. The Democrats decided to hold this the other day, and I was like, you and I were both like, why?
I mean, seriously.
You think you're going to get the political edge? All right, now, after the election, we're going to convince America that we don't need to deport anybody. You're not going to win this, but we'll get to that coming up following the bottom of the hour.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome. Download our Red Eye Radio app today and listen when and where you choose. I will say this, starting to play the Christmas music this week. I'm into the mood now.
I'm
into it.
In fact, I'm going home here in a couple of minutes. You can take it from here. No, I'm. By the way, this is our Friday. I want to remind our audience, Dan Mandis will be here tomorrow. We are fortunate to have Dan at the Red Eye helm.
Yep.
Marconi Award winner. And we're going to take a 3-day weekend. And then after next week is a full week for us. Man, it's going to be brutal, working a full week. Ugh. And then... And then we're off for our Christmas break, and Dan will be doing a lot of those shows as well while we're out. But I'm too in that place where things are just kind of coming together. It does really help that there is hope and change on the horizon.
Yeah.
If you want to look at something where there has been real hope families struggling with so many things, as we've talked about, and they want it changed. Look, we are hopeful, I'll say this, that it will get done, and I do believe it is the right people to get it done if anybody can do it. But that makes it so much better knowing that change is coming.
I think that most Americans just want to have opportunity to be able to earn money and take care of their families.
Right.
I really and you know, we talk about this. We talk about what drove this election, and you know, I have a lot of discussions with my great nephew, and you know, talking about he's been questioning everything from the time he was 7-8 years old.
Yeah.
So at 16 now, we have great talks. And, you know, we've had the great discussions on communism versus capitalism and the role of money, you know, what money is for and why you do it. And I could tell that he was quite impressed when I told him the concept of money. And my brother was there too. My brother was there with him. I said, look, the whole thing of money is not to be able to buy stuff. You're going to have to buy stuff, and there are things you will want to buy, but that's not why you acquire wealth.
Right.
He looked at me like,
right.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Said you acquire wealth. Said you work hard, you acquire wealth, you save it, you invest it. Now, there's a lot of things, you know, emergencies that can really help. But the most important thing, and this isn't talked about enough, and you and I have been promoting this. We probably don't promote it enough, but we've talked about it many times on the show. But the reason that you focus on that is not, all you care about is money. No, you care about acquiring wealth because once you do, if things happen, if you get laid off, you have more choices.
Right.
When you talk about freedom, what gives you freedom? We talk about, freedom isn't free, and people have fought and died so we can have freedom. But also getting to be able to use that freedom in your life is something that you have to earn. But if you earn it and you act responsibly and you save it, then nobody else can tell you what to do with your life.
Right.
That's why you do it. Man, I'm telling you, his eyes were just wide open at that one, and I went, Van Jones, if you're looking for a good argument.
Yeah, right.
We had played Van Jones earlier when the former Obama advisor trying to figure out, what went wrong in the election for them. And he did identify really the identity politics and the victim-oppressor relationship and all that. But if he wants to move from his socialist activities to his capitalism activities or his socialist narrative to a more capitalist narrative, we have a path for him if he wants it.
Exactly.
But yeah, so when my great nephew looked at me like, wow.
Well, it's
that's
because, it's something we've talked about over the years that we were taught, growing up, the things that you learn, but it was also generational. You wanted to go out and be able to earn to gain that independence, right? To be able to choose, okay, I'm going to live on my own. I'm going to do for myself. I'm going to be responsible for myself, but I get to make the choices in my life. And then as you gain more and more leverage through that financial wealth, then that's fine. That gives you more freedoms. Financial freedom leads to that greater freedom ultimately in, okay, like you said, I get laid off, but now I have choices. An emergency happens and you're not stuck with and burdened with the worry, the concern that is on the shoulders of so many people. And, it requires the discipline to get to that point because we all want that instant gratification, that stuff that we talk about. But the fact of the matter is that the greater long-term gratification is something that really goes to your instinct because you were able to provide something. You've got that there again, when you need it, you've got it. It counts.
Right.
And then knowing it's there and all along the way allows you to make different choices, even as you continue to build that. And that's what it, comes down to. I talked to someone who we have taught our grandkids, they all have savings accounts, and they can spend the money from their savings. But if they want to buy something, it's their money. And so we teach them the process, but the savings pays interest. So if you leave it in savings, the bank will pay you for doing nothing, leaving the money alone.
And remember, when even when George Costanza on Seinfeld learned about compound interest,
right?
He thought that was the greatest thing.
Oh, you
could make money by doing nothing.
One of my grandkids. I have it's 6 girls and 2 boys, 8 grandchildren, and the oldest of the boys was telling me. He said, "Nope." He said, "I like leaving it because look what happens, and then the interest is on that amount, and then it goes to that amount, and now the interest is on that amount, the compounding effect." And he said, "That's awesome, and all I have to do is leave it alone."
It was on YouTube again because I think I wake up, I just put YouTube on, and it goes in shuffle. I never know what's coming up. But it was a video of the radio talk show host Dave Ramsey.
Oh, yeah.
Talking to
Dave Ramsey.
71-year-old woman who, her and her husband have like $25,000. They have 3 cars.
Yeah.
Only $25,000 in retirement savings. She cleans homes, makes about $20,000 a year. He can't work.
Yeah.
And they make about $2,000 a month. I think it was Social Security. And she goes, "What should we do?" And basically it's you get rid of everything. No debt, no nothing. Did you go out to eat? Oh, yeah, we go out to eat all the time.
You're going to eat rice and beans now. You're going to eat rice and beans
he
now.
Goes, that stops now. And that goes back to our point that if you've got the money, if you live beneath your means and do it, and believe me, I had to live beneath my means. I've always lived beneath my means, but man, there were sometimes when I had no means and I was living beneath that.
Well, we're in radio. Sometimes there is no beneath.
There is no beneath. But I just sat there and I felt, because those are the times she was 71 years of age.
Yeah.
And you're like, at that point, it's
That's
like
scary.
You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's when you want to be able to sit back a little bit and go, okay, I do have some choices, and don't act foolish, but I have choices where I can enjoy a little bit of life.
Right.
And he's saying, you're in survival mode now. You need to stop everything. Right. And it's, it's funny with Dave, the way, oh, yeah, okay, now.
Yeah. Well, no, when he gets down to brass tacks, the thing is that it does take that, it requires that kind of discipline. And sometimes, I mean, if you're at 71 and you're in that situation, that discipline is going to have to be true, and it's going to have to be harsh. It's going to have to be straight. It's going to have to be bare bones, And, look, everybody makes, here and there, everybody's capable of making mistakes when it comes to financial decisions. But the more discipline you enact, again, whether it's savings or 401k or whatever it is, or maybe working a part-time job. Look, this is where the inflation thing is. I'm so livid at this situation now that American families are in, because we've shown over and over again, we're hardworking. We're a hardworking society. As in terms of a labor group, our country, we don't fear work. We'll work a little extra, but the government spending that sends it over the top to the point you're still underwater and you're working your butt off, is just makes me livid. I just hate that, because it should be that you're working extra so that the extra is for you, so that you're trying to accomplish something. And maybe it's something where you're catching up on something you got behind on, but it's all in your territory. It's not about the government's behavior. And hopefully we're going to see that expansion of wealth in the coming years. I really hope we're going to see that.
And, I met Dave Ramsey early on in his career at we were just talking about WTN and Dan Mandis filling in. I was offered, Dan's work in the morning show. I was offered that back in 94, 95, I think it was.
Wow.
And I met Dave Ramsey early on in his career when he was there.
Yeah.
And it was a great conversation. But the best one I ever heard, this is by far the best one, the late Bob Brinker. Remember Bob? And he was great. He was great at what he did. But a guy called the show one time. And it's funny because when you listen, I knew it was coming. But there was this kid, he was like, look, I'm 26 years old. I've got a great technical kind of job. I don't remember what he was doing, but a great technical job. And he said, I'm 26 years old. I got no debt. I've got $250,000 or $300,000 already banked. And I'm like, that's impressive for somebody that young. And he says, now he goes, but my goal is to be in music. And so I'm in a band and we just can't get anybody to sign us. But we found this one record company that said if we give him $250,000, he'll get that whole CD or record ready. I don't remember. It could have been record or CD. It was that long ago. He can get the record or CD done for us. And I'm thinking of investing that in that. Do you think that's a good idea? I'm sorry, I'm sorted because you knew it was coming next.
Yeah.
And there was like a 2-second pause. And I don't think I ever heard Bob Brinker so loud like, are you out of your freaking mind?
Exactly. Eric Harley will do it for $100,000.
Yeah, what are you doing? No.
I mean, seriously. Yeah.
If it has value, they'll pay you.
No, that's it. Exactly.
I'll never forget
right.
that. Oh, yes. So, but yeah.
There was a Ramsey episode. A caller calls in and says, here's what's going on. And went kind of straight to the point. There's this car, it's like whatever it was, $60,000, $70,000. I really want this car. It's a thing. It's like, okay, great. How much debt? 0. How much you make? $800,000 a year. Buy the car.
Did he really?
Yeah. If you want the car, if you can afford the car, buy the car. It's like, all right.
So he is not Ebenezer Scrooge,
right?
Saying have nothing and have billions of dollars.
No, I don't think on everything he is,
right.
But it's like, again,
he's okay with Elon finally buying a home.
Well, that's the thing. If that's within your range, then yeah, go ahead. Okay. I mean, if that's what you really want, a car as an investment, that's what I look at. All right. How much am I going to get out of that car? Not the return when I sell it, but use of it because I don't buy collector cars. But, it's not about that. If you get that satisfaction and that's your reward and you can truly afford it, then, all right, fine.
I'm assuming he was paying cash for it.
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah.
I think he was.
866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the top of the hour, the governor of Michigan, Governor Whitmer, said she is willing to work with Hitler because Hitler cares about Michigan.
Exactly.
So we'll get, everybody knows where I'm going with that one.
There's a new state-funded public service announcement. Hitler cares about Michigan.
And I love this headline. California reparations bills killed as Newsom sought to avoid appearing too progressive, but they want to bring it up again. All the activists are saying January, this comes back up again. And Newsom's like, well, no, we really don't want to do. Hey, you're the one that put together the entire reparations group, the exploratory group on it.
Right.
And now you want to back off? And more on the deportation hearings in the Senate.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.